Hello and welcome to A Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal coming under fire for issuing an executive order protecting those with religious objections to same-sex marriage. The marriage and conscience order is seen as a preemptive strike before the Supreme Court's expected ruling on same-sex marriage. Well, some are calling it a license to discriminate, while others are heralding it as a way to protect religious freedom. Here to weigh in is Dr. Robert Jeffress, Senior Pastor of First Baptist Dallas. Welcome.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for having me.
Well, interesting thing is that already New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu issued an executive order to sort of counter Governor Jindal's order. You've got the state's tourism officials worried about what will do the state's tourism. New York Governor Cuomo saying, we're going to restrict all state travel, unnecessary travel to Louisiana. What's your reaction to all of this?
Well, my reaction is thank God, and I mean that literally, for Governor Jindal to have the courage to stand up for the very real First Amendment rights of people to exercise their religious beliefs. Look, this is not about discriminating against gays or any group. This is about the First Amendment rights of people to exercise their religious belief that marriage should be between a man and a woman. And look, we can have a debate all day and night about the merits of gay marriage, but here is what is an absolute fact. Traditional marriage, as Justice Kennedy noted in the oral arguments last night before SCOTUS, Justice Kennedy said that traditional marriage has been the norm for thousands of years. Traditional marriage has been embraced by our judiciary for hundreds of years, and it has even been embraced by liberals like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton until several years ago, until they evolved in their thinking. And while it's true, Lauren, that people have the right to change their thinking about gay marriage, what they don't have the right to do is to persecute people who hold on to a traditional view of marriage. That's what Governor Jindal's action is all about.
But the polls do show, in fairness, the polls do show that many people the support for same-sex marriage is actually growing among the electorate. I mean, you've got to admit that, though.
Well, that's absolutely right. But, fortunately, constitutional rights are not determined by public polls. I mean, there is a First Amendment right that guarantees the free exercise of religion. And the truth is, you can look through the Constitution day and night and never find an explicit absolute right to marry, but there is an absolute right to the free exercise of religion.
We've got a full screen that I want to read for you right now. Just to put it up right now. It's called, this is the debate over the Louisiana executive order. This executive order will prohibit the state from denying or revoking a tax exemption, a tax deduction, contract, cooperative agreement, loan, professional license, certification, accreditation, or employment on the basis the person acts in accordance with a religious belief that marriage is between one man and one woman. The critics are pointing out that Governor Jindal actually accused President Obama of being arrogant and cynical when he signed the executive order regarding immigration. I mean, how is this different?
It's very different, and here's how. What President Obama did was try to create some kind of right that does not exist in the Constitution. Governor Jindal was protecting a right that is explicitly in the First Amendment. And these are not imaginary scenarios we're dealing with of persecution against those who deal with traditional marriage. Look at the Sweet Cakes bakery in Oregon that was put out of business because they wouldn't bake a gay wedding cake. Look at what the Solicitor General for the Obama administration said in the oral arguments last month. He said that this is going to be an issue for religious organizations in the future. And I'm just glad that Governor Jindal didn't fold like a cheap suit like Mike Pence of Indiana and Asa Hutchinson did in Arkansas.
Let's bring up Mike Pence because he got a lot of backlash for the Religious Freedom Bill in Indiana. He said he was going to sign it, then he had to, do a little backpedaling on that issue when he realized how much objection there was to it. I mean, could this hurt Jindal's presidential chances in 2016? He too is one of those people who has been, named as perhaps in the GOP running for the nomination. So could this hurt Jindal as well?
Well, I heard Jindal. I was in a group with him last week in Washington, D.C. He addressed this. He is a man of conviction, I believe. And look, what we're seeing happening is we're seeing an unholy alliance between big business and the left trying to quash these religious freedom bills because of what it will do to business. And that's why I say the single greatest threat to religious liberty in America today is not ISIS, it's the Chamber of Commerce.
But how big of an issue is religious freedom going to be, and where on what side do the politicians really have to be? I mean, one of the things that has come out about the people to the right is that they've become so much more right and against sort of moderate that really is the motherlode of the electorate.
Well, I believe that this issue of religious liberty, whether it's religious liberty of Christians around the world being threatened by ISIS or religious liberty here at home, is going to be a key issue for evangelical Christians. Again, I was in this group where many of the presidential candidates spoke last weekend, and I'm telling you, during the Q&A time from religious leaders, it was the number one issue. And I believe personally that any GOP contender who has to be pushed into saying the right thing about religious liberty is going to be scratched off the list of many of us. We want somebody who absolutely believes in the First Amendment right to exercise religion, not just in the church, synagogue, or home, but in all aspects of life.
But just one last point, though, is that if they get the GOP nomination, will it kind of create the scenario by which they cannot win the presidency?
That has been the age-old argument that, oh, we need somebody moderate to win the election, and it's failed every time. It's failed with Bob Dole. It's failed with Mitt Romney. It's failed with John McCain. Look, as Ted Cruz pointed out in our group last week, there is only one Republican in 50 years who's had a group of Democrats named after him. There weren't any Democrats for Romney or McCain or Dole or Jerry Ford. It was Democrats for Reagan. And I believe there's a place for somebody who will stand up for sincerely held religious beliefs, regardless of what the popular culture says.
All right. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Jeffress, for your input on this. And of course, we're going to have you back because I want you to name that politician who you believe actually will be the GOP nominee and has the best chance of actually winning the presidency, in your opinion. Thanks so much for being on A Spirited Debate.
Thank you.